right, so with us on the show from Bourbon House, Lacey Crowe, Jason Clark. How are the two of you doing?
Good.
Excellent.
It is so great to talk to you. I love your band. You know that.
We do know that. You've been awesome.
Your first album came out, self-titled album, 2017, a great album. You did your second album, Wild Abandon, in 2018. 2019, you released a single, Devil on My Heels, which did really good. It reached number 1 on the indie charts in Australia and number 2 in the UK, which is really, really good. You've been nominated for Band of the Year by the Guy B Rock Show in the UK, and for Hard Rock Band of the Year by Radio Wigwam in the UK, for which you took home a third place. So that's really good stuff among thousands of other people.
Yeah.
Now, Devil on My Heels, as I said, released last year, just a single. Why no full album in 2019?
We weren't really ready for a full album. And also, we just felt like we wanted to see what it was like to just promote just a single and see how that was for us. And honestly, it was like, it's way easier for us to focus on that one thing, being an independent band.
Yeah.
So that's why we released another single, obviously, Too High to Care.
Now Too High to Care, another great song, you just released in April, and that's from an upcoming album. So you do have an album coming out?
Yes, we do.
And let me ask you, are you going to put Devil on My Heels on that album?
Maybe.
Okay. So is the album recorded, or are you just waiting on releasing it? What's going on with it?
Yeah, it's all recorded. It's mixed, mastered. It's all ready to go. We have it. We're sitting on it. So that's exciting. We'll probably release another single from it and then the album.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely have Too High to Care on it. I never really considered Devil on My Heels, but like maybe it should go on there.
Yeah.
About it. I mean, we have 5 songs that we just recorded in November, and then we have Devil on My Heels. So we really have 6 songs.
So it would be an EP.
It would be an EP unless we go and record a few more in the fall and release like a larger album in the spring. But I think releasing these singles is more of an industry reaction. We're doing it because albums don't sell like they used to, and songs are being promoted and marketed one at a time now.
Yeah, but we also understand that people like hard copies of things, and so we will definitely have a hard copy, of these songs all together.
Right, which is smart. And I also think, I tell people all the time, I think it's smart what you're doing with the one song at a time. It is easier to market one song. Obviously, it's been successful for you. I tell people, like, you go back to the 50s, the 60s, 70s, as late as, the 80s, 45s were still for sale. And,
right.
If you were a DJ, you were buying just that song. And unless it was like, a major artist that you knew was going to have 3 or 4 hits, well, then you would buy the album. But, so it really kind of has come full circle back to that, Release the song. Don't let the rest of it get lost in the shuffle. And the thing I like about your albums is that, you keep it at 8 songs, give or take, which I think is a really good idea. And this is another thing I say to people all the time. When the album came about in the 70s, okay, there was only enough room on the album to put about 45 minutes of music. Then when the CD came out, you could fit 70 minutes. So every band felt like, well, we have to do 70 minutes. And I don't care who the band was. There was filler on there,
Oh.
So it was like, keep it at 45, 50 minutes. You don't need to go, that long because, 70 minutes, that was equivalent of a double album in the 70s. And double albums, you really better have had a lot of good material for that album, to work.
Yeah, I think that like the best bands that you can think of had songs that you were like, what in the hell is this?
Oh,
Yeah.
there's no doubt. Where it's like,
Yeah.
if you took out these 6 songs, you'd have a great album. It's just too much. So, what I like about the band is, Lacey, obviously you have a very distinctive voice, and to go one step further, Jason, you have a very unique guitar sound. So I could be listening and a song would come on and I would say, that's Bourbon House. And I think that is incredibly important for a band to have a recognizable sound. And I really think that you have that. And again, not just in Lacey's voice, but Jason's guitar and the style of the band.
Yeah, thank you. I also think that's very important.
I'm glad you said that, because that's something that I agree that it's very important to have, and I feel like it's something that we've been grasping for and trying to achieve and not quite ever doing, because every time we record something, I'm using different guitars and different pedals and different amps, and I'm like, oh, you got to have a sound, you got to have a sound that you call your own, and I feel like it's something I don't have. And I've always wondered if the band has a sound of its own, because the band can be fairly diverse. If you listen to all the tracks, there's acoustic stuff, there's fast stuff, slow stuff, there's blues, and there's alternative. We're all over the map.
Yes, and I have listened to all the songs, so I completely agree.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you said that then.
And you being, it's always easier when you're on the outside looking in, somebody like me that's listening to it. And, I heard you in a recent interview say, you've just got, tons and tons of riffs, just stored away. So it's easy to get lost in, well, I don't know, do I have a sound? But, I can clearly tell you that you definitely do in your guitar playing. I love your slide stuff. It is so badass. Drown It in the Whiskey. The way that song opens up, Jason, that's killer.
We just kind of, we listened to a bunch of Robert Johnson stuff the night before we went to the studio, and I just said, I'm just going to play whatever comes to me, and that's what we're going to use. So I'm glad it worked out. Yeah,
that whole intro was like a one take with the vocal and everything. It was just like, we did it on the spot. The intro was completely different, and it sucked, and it had no slide in it. Mm-hmm. And we were just like, we hate it.
Mm-hmm.
The night, we have one day left in the studio at this point. And I think we were up all night, just like, what are we going to do?
Yeah, we were trying to figure out what were the shortcomings of what we had so far, and one shortcoming that Lacey and I agreed on was the intro for Whiskey Needs to Go. And then we're like, well, no, what are we going to do then? There's got to be some kind of an intro there. So we stayed up like 5 hours just trying to come up with something. And we did everything we did. And we just said, okay, well, we're just going to go in tomorrow and do something and figure it out.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
Now, I love the fact that you said you went back to Robert Johnson, because going back to the roots is what it's all about. And a lot of bands don't do that. A lot of bands will listen to, 70s stuff or whatever, and they'll be, and it's like, well, go back and see where they got it from.
For sure.
You got to go back to the beginning. So the fact that you said, I was listening to Robert Johnson, that is like phenomenal, because you're going back to the roots. It puts more into why the band sounds like it does.
Yeah.
Because you're going back to the beginning. Now, Jason, who are some of your guitar idols, your guitar heroes? Who do you like?
Jimmy Page, Joe Perry, and Richie Blackmore would be the guys that I grew up on. Jimi Hendrix too, but I kind of felt like he was, out of my league. Like I couldn't even aspire to that. Like he was a little too godlike,
Yeah. And the sounds he came up with, to this day, people are like, how did he do that?
Yeah, he's amazing.
It's very hard to imitate. But I used to watch Joe Perry. I remember watching when Aerosmith was on some awards thing. This was probably like 92 or 93. And I just thought Joe Perry looked so cool. And I'm like, man, I got to learn to play guitar and look like him.
I need to be cool.
Need to be cooler.
Joe Perry is as cool as they get. I'm a huge Aerosmith fan. And Joe, to me, is just as cool as they come.
I'm sure you've read Joe's autobiography. I loved that. I read that last summer.
His is the best one out of all the books that they've written. I read it and I go, I have been waiting for years to hear Joe's side of the story. So yeah, Joe's book, I loved Joe's book. Lacey, now the band, one of the things I wanted to mention here is in your bio, it's on your website, you say the band is blues-influenced psychedelic groove rock, which pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, I can. I've described it in very many different ways, but I think that works. We have a lot of different sounds, I think, and it's hard to just like pin it down. But yeah, what did I say? Blues infused.
Yeah,
blues infused psychedelic groove rock.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of groove. We have a lot of groove going on. And psychedelic people, people just like think of the 70s, I think, with that word. So
yeah.
Is it a throwback?
Yeah. And that's really the sum total of about 3 years of trying to fine tune a label for what we do.
Right.
Because
it's not modern rock.
Yeah, I remember 3 years ago, marketing people were asking us how to describe, you got to have a label, what's your genre, and every time we came up with something, it wasn't really fully accurate.
Yeah.
So it's...
Because I feel like we can't say it's blues rock. Like, you can't just say it's blues rock, because then you think of, like, Joe Bonamassa, or, like...
Yeah.
This is on the blues, and they expect it to sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan,
Right, and it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's... Yeah.
Well, on your Facebook page, it says American Hard Rock Band. So that sums it up right there.
Right. I recently changed that. I'm just like, this is what we are. Here you go.
Well, it does come down to it. Now, Lacey, when did you start singing and who were your influences? When did you know, hey, I have a voice. I want to do something with this. I mean, tell me, even if it goes back to like grammar school, singing in a choir. Tell me give me a little brief history of your voice and what got you into singing.
Sure. I think the first time I sang in front of people, I was always just like a closet singer, The first time I sang in front of people, I think was in the 8th grade. So I would have been about 13, in front of my entire school. And I sang like a Celine Dion song, which is really funny. But my family was always very, very musical. My sister is an amazing singer, and she's my older sister, and she's always been in front of people singing, and so I think that's why I probably took like a back seat with my voice. I was like, I'm not really gonna sing in front of people. I'm scared, because she was very out there, and she's very, very, very good. She's amazing. And I didn't form a band or anything until I met Jason. So this is my first band, actually, and this is when we first started writing songs and playing songs that we wrote in front of people, and they were reacting, and actually you were one of the first people who reacted to it, and then I was like, do we actually have something good? Like, can I actually do this?
Yeah, like a real New York DJ likes us. We might be pretty good.
Maybe I can do this.
Yeah, well, you definitely were. I mean, right away. I loved that song. Right down to the very end when I play it, I always let that last little part go. The song is fading out, and you go, she feels it in her bones, baby. I can't do it the justice of you, but I'm like, and I always say that when it ends, I go, I always let that go right to the very end because I just love the way she sings that last part. So
thank you.
Now, Jason, what about you? When did you start playing guitar?
I started as a teenager, probably a little later than most guitar players. I was about 18. I mean, I didn't really have access to guitar lessons or even a guitar until I was about 18. Then I just went and bought my friend's brother's old guitar that he got for Christmas. It was a startup electric guitar and starter amp that he never learned to play, and he sold it to me about a month after Christmas and angered his father. But I said, I'm going to learn how to play it, so give me that stuff. And I just just took to it, you know.
And did you start playing in bands?
No, not really, but I knew a lot of other guitar players in college, so we would jam in the dorms, we would jam out in the yards, in the courtyards in college. We went and jammed in front of the main doors at Kmart across the street, and we got kicked out.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit of busking.
You sure?
But I didn't start playing in bands until about 5 or 6 years after I learned guitar. Just started playing in cover bands, playing a bunch of classic rock songs, you know.
Now, when you met Lacey, what was the dynamic of saying, you know, how did that come together where it's like, hey, I can sing, and the two of you decided to start Bourbon House?
Well, that was something that we just thought would be fun to do. We thought that, I knew she could sing, and we knew that we had musical abilities, but we just thought, let's learn a few songs and go to an open mic just for something fun to do. But we got a really good response, so we learned more songs, and before we knew it, we had about 100 or 150 covers, and then we started writing our own just to see if we could do that. Mm-hmm. And then when we had 5 of them, we thought, let's book some studio time and just record these. It was all very laissez-faire. We weren't trying to really get on the radio or go anywhere with it. We just thought it would be fun to do, and just a little side project. And this is something we can do, so let's do it. But things kind of took off and snowballed, and now, you know, it's our lives now. So.
Right. So there was. Go ahead, Lacey.
Oh, sorry. It's only actually been like 3 years.
I know. It's been a quick 3 years. Yeah, you have accomplished a lot in 3 years.
Yeah.
As far as putting out music and getting, you know, press and getting your name out there and people know who you are. So when you went in and you recorded those songs and you listened back to them, were you like, hey, this is really good? Or were you not sure? How did you feel about them after you recorded them and you listened to them?
Like the EP, or self-titled EP, the first time I heard it, I was really impressed. I thought that it was really good, and I'm the kind of person who's like, I don't want to listen to my voice, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hear it. I even like my talking voice, even that. I'm like, oh God, I don't want to listen to that. But the first time it came back, our engineer is just like really awesome. And, you know, he's like, I didn't fudge anything. This is you. Like, this is what you sound like. And you guys sound good, and you have something here, you know? And we're just like, damn.
Yeah. We wanted things to be fairly stripped down. That's why there's not as many overdubs as there could have been. And looking back, I wish we would have put a little more time into the songs and just, you know, made them a little fancier and a little more layered. But we really thought that it sounded great, and our engineer was really good with us, and he asked us if we had any ideas for a single, and we said, no, we're not thinking about singles or radio or anything. He said, well, you ought to send out Music in Your Bones to some people. So that's what we did. You were one of the first ones we sent it to, and I think you were the first one to really come back with a lot of praise for us.
Yeah, I loved it. It was like love at first listen. As far as what Jason just said about Lacey's voice, I have seen your live videos on YouTube, and 100%. Your voice, that is your voice. There's no studio trickery and overdubs and all this other stuff, you know, in your voice. I mean, I've seen your videos of you guys playing clubs, and it's there. It's there 100%.
Oh, thank you. Actually, Wild Abandon, we re-recorded it because we went to a studio with a different engineer that we've never worked with before, and he did fudge it. He changed notes. He moved guitar parts, and like, you know, just like created a solo that Jason's like, I can't even, that's impossible to play. You know. So, you know, we spent a bunch of money, recorded with this guy. He gave it back to us, and we were like, we're throwing it out.
Good for you. Yeah,
had to do it.
Lacey, where do your vocals come from? What do you write about? Because Jason will from the way I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason will, you know, give you a riff or, you know, a song, and then you take it from there. So how do you title the songs? Who titles the songs? And where do you come up with your lyrics?
So sometimes Jason will actually give me a song title,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can build lyrics around that, which is what happens a lot. That happened with Two Head Care.
And
I'm like, what would that be about? Well, I know what that would be about, so I can write lyrics about this. Devil on the Heels was the same thing.
John Whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a notepad in my phone where I just write down good song titles. I'm a firm believer that you got to have the song ought to begin with a great title. I think I've heard Steven Tyler say that too.
Yeah.
Their titles are all great.
Yeah.
It makes you want to listen to the song. So I come up with first. I got like 20 of them, and a lot of times she'll be working on lyrics, and then she'll say, "I'm not sure what to call it yet," and I'll say, "Look through these and pick one, and then maybe build a chorus around it or something, or find a way to make it work." But
Yeah.
That's interesting you say that, because I do believe it's a good formula. So when you get those titles from Jason, what is your creative writing process like? Do you where do you write? Do you sit down somewhere by yourself, or does it flow? Where is it coming from? Because a lot of people say, well, they write about what they know. So
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I think you can write about what you know, but also it's very, like, if you're an open enough person, you should be able to tap into somebody else's emotion. You know what I mean? Like, if you're writing like a sad song and you're not sad, can't you remember a time that you were?
Mm-hmm.
No. So you just, yeah, that's, and I do sit alone and do it. I need to not have distraction. Sometimes it's not flowing. Sometimes it is. It depends on the title. If the title is it's a very Two Head Care is like super clear what the song is going to be about. So that one was easy.
That's a very good point, what you say about, thinking about a time you were sad, because I always say it's not what you sing, it's not what you play, it's how you do it. And I do feel, it's how you sing it, it's how you play it. And I do feel that emotion from your band. You're feeling it. And therefore the listener feels it.
Mm-hmm. And that's, if you have like a good engineer too, they can definitely help you out with that. In this last recording that we did, there is a slow song. It's called Slow Burn. Obviously it's still not released, but, it's supposed to be an emotional song for sure. And, when I was doing the vocals for it, I redid the vocals for that one. I did so many takes. Our engineer, Steve Lehane from Rust Belt Studios, he came in. He completely changed the lighting in the room. He like closed some of the doors. He brought in like a lava lamp and stuff. And he was just out. He turned the lights like it was basically pitch black.
Yeah, you sang in the dark.
I sang in the
lava lamp.
Yeah, but like that was him. Like I didn't think of doing that.
Yeah,
He's like, this is gonna help you.
Create the mood, so to speak.
Yeah.
Now, when the band records, what is that process like? Do you all jam in a room? Do you lay down the tracks and then Lacey, you sing on top of it? Take me through that process.
Yep, that's pretty much it. We will all jam the song together, and that'll be the drum track. And I do a scratch track on it. And actually, when we recorded these last ones, I think he recorded the drums and the rhythm guitar at the same time.
Yeah, well, he was recording everything, but we were focused on getting the drum track correct. And we might have spent 6 or 7 takes, 10 takes, trying to get the drums as perfect as possible. And once we got that right, then everything else that was recorded, you could either keep it or do it over or add to it or whatever. And almost everything was done over. There was a few, parts that we kept. A lot of things were just done over, though.
Yeah.
Okay, but, it does sound very pure. And not a lot of, like you said, overdubs, and it's not overproduced. None of your music, it's not overproduced. It's not, slick production because it's like you said before, with an engineer, changing stuff around that's impossible to play. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear what can be played.
Absolutely. You need to be able to play it live.
Exactly. And, there's bands out there, throughout the years that can't reproduce what they did in the studio.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. I wish you much success. Now, do we have a release date on the new album?
We don't.
Okay.
We do not.
I will be looking for it. And when it comes out, I'd love to get you back on the show because I can't wait to hear it. And we'll talk about it some more.
Yep, sounds good.
Lacey Crowe, Jason Clark from Bourbon House, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Jay.
You're welcome.